Hey everybody, it's a Sunday afternoon and kind of overcast. Not a great day for doing much anything other than going out and buying a car. So that's what we did. Um, you know, the one of the habits that a lot of people have is they get up in the morning and they read the newspaper over their coffee and cereal, whatever it is that they're doing, and catch up on the local news and national news and things like that. What I do is, I get up and I turn on the computer and I browse the news headlines and stuff like that, and then I go and I check out Craigslist, see what's listed new, what's up for today on the local scene as far as stuff for sale. And so yesterday, I did that, and I came up just looking around for possible projects, something to, flip or anything like that. So I got looking around, and lo and behold, there was like 4 on there yesterday. Some late 80s Subaru L Series cars, a couple of first generation legacies. So I get on the phone, make some calls. 2 of them, as usual, to Craigslist, which is actually probably about right. I never got any response back from. Either they're already sold or they're. I don't understand sometimes why you don't get a response back when you inquire about an ad, but it happens. So 2 people got back a hold of me. So one of them, I went and looked at yesterday afternoon. It was a car that had been sitting around for a couple of years. Had some overheating issues. More than likely, it was head gasket or whatever. And the rest of the car, overall the car was really rusty. And like I say, it's been sitting in this guy's garage for 2 years. It wasn't. It just didn't do anything for me. So, he wasn't asking a lot of money for it. He wanted like $400 for the car. I told him, I said straight up, I'd be interested in it, but I'm a buyer at like $100. I was thinking, maybe some parts of it, something like that, parted out. It had a pretty decent set of tires on it. So I went today, took a ride on one. I talked to the guy yesterday. It sounded pretty promising, enough to where I hooked the trailer onto the truck and I took it a ride up to Truckee, California, which is about maybe 25 miles from the house. So it's about a 50-mile round trip. Get up there, talk with a guy. It's a 1987 GL10 4-wheel drive station wagon. It's 5-speed. It's in pretty decent shape, as you'll see here in just a second. Basically, the guy's had the car for a couple of years, and he's a real stand-up guy. Nice guy to talk to. I've spent some real time in conversations with him. He's a gearhead like the rest of us. He does know some stuff about cars. He's not out there in the dark. And this is a particular car that frustrated the man. He bought this car, runs it around up there. Truckee is one of those type of places up in the Sierras. They get a significant amount of snowfall in the wintertime. So, Subarus are really a vehicle of choice up there because, they're good on gas, but they'll go through the snow and get you from point A to point B when the weather's really adverse. So he's got this car, and it's all well. The car runs great, but what happens is when you pull a long incline, and what it is when you go from down here in Reno to Truckee, you're pulling some pretty good grades on the way on the interstate. So you're buzzing along at a higher RPM, and you're pulling some grades at the same time. Well, the car would run hot. It wouldn't get to the point where it would overheat, but the gauge was right there, right below the red mark. It's the only time it would do it. You can take this car and drive it around town all day, just kind of cruise it around, no problems. Doesn't run hot at all. Everything's perfectly normal. I got a file folder of receipts with the car from work that's recently been done in the last, 2 or 3 months. And the guy's literally spent hundreds of dollars on this trying to fix it. So, and still the same problem. So we took a look at the car, and I thought, this would be a pretty good project. So we brought it home. So let's take a look at what we've got, and we'll figure this thing out. Here she is. Like I say, it's 1987. It's in pretty decent shape. It's relatively clean. The interior of the car is not too bad. I can't get the door open right now with it on the trailer. We'll open that up in a little bit when we get it down off. We'll do a little walk around here. It's got some brand new, purchased this year, studded snow tires all the way around, which are pretty nice. Does have a little bit of a rust issue right here in this wheel well, relatively small area, so we'll have to take care of that. Overall, the car is in pretty decent condition. We've got one pretty good crease right there. Paint is older. It's faded, but overall it's not too bad. I mean, 1987, so the car is, what, a few years old here. So look up underneath. What's got on the trailer? Car has a new exhaust on it. He had put on about a year and a half ago. Looks pretty decent underneath. All the lights work. It's a single range 4-wheel drive with a push button actuator on top of the shift lever. It's a 5-speed transmission. It's a GL10 model, which in 1987 was basically the fancy model. It has, the upgraded interior. It has a power sunroof, which I don't know whether or not it works. We'll have to check that out. It got all the power amenities, windows and stuff. It has a very fancy for the time trip computer in the dash. Say that wheel weather, it's in pretty good shape overall. Nothing glaringly sticking out at me at the moment. So as I'm talking to this gentleman, and we're looking at the car and whatnot, the description that the man is giving me for what the car does sounds to me like we have a very poor flowing radiator, which is kind of a common thing that you find with these cars. Cooling system issues with these are not unusual, and a lot of times it's a head gasket problem, it's a radiator problem, it's had aftermarket thermostat put in, and for whatever reason these cars do not seem to agree with that at all. They really prefer the OEM thermostats for proper operation. So there's a few things out there we could be looking at, but in talking with this guy and so on, like I say, it really, first impression to me was, well, we've got a radiator that's not flowing to its full potential. So get looking through the thing. Well, the car's got a brand new radiator in it. It was just done back before Christmas. Guys spent some like $250 for it installed and everything like that. Didn't change a thing. And I asked him, I says, is the car losing coolant? Is it pushing it out the overflow? Is the level dropping, something like that? To basically which he replied, no. He says that's the strange part of this. He says everything seems perfectly normal. The only thing it does is the temperature will rise on a long incline. And I'm thinking, man, it still sounds like restricted airflow. So let me get it down off the trailer and let's take a look around and see what we see. Just one quick thing before we do take it down. Let's talk for just a couple minutes about towing stuff on the trailer. You'll see as I have this on here, I always strap them down on the trailer in 4 locations. I do 2 front, 2 rear ties like you've got here, and I do 2 in the front the same way. It's very important when you tow anything, whether it be on a dolly, whether you have it on a trailer like this, that the vehicle is very secure to the bed of the towing device. When you're going down the highway, you need to have it adequately secured. That's one of the quickest things that you can do to get yourself a ticket, is be riding down the road and just, you know, have the one chain on or something like that. Highway patrol, you know, sees that, they will pull you over. You will be issued a citation, which is never fun, giving, you know, money to municipal courts for something like that. You'll notice that this trailer, we've also welded on some extra rings down the sides. The reason for that is it really adds to the flexibility as far as strapping stuff down. We have a lot of different points that we can strap to, and this is how I strap them. I mean, I go from the vehicle points, and most all your cars do have tow hooks and things like that. I always go off them. That's what they're actually designed for. If not, you can go farther up and hook into, you know, some secure place on the body, or the suspension, front and rear, will work as well too. Just be careful, you know, as you're doing it, to what you're wrapping it around, and secure it to your trailer. Now, when my ratchet straps, when I put them on, what I do is I'll tighten them up and I'll leave a loop like this right here, and then I will wrap it around and pull it back through like that for going down the highway. Okay, the reason I leave this loop right here is it's a good idea after you tie something down, and you go down the road, you know, go 2-3 miles, something like that, find yourself a good safe spot to pull over and go ahead and check them. Make sure you can't give them another tighten. A lot of times things settle and stuff like that, and it will loosen up a little bit on you. So keep a check on them, and like I say, most importantly, use a minimum of 4 straps to tie it down on a trailer, 2 straps to tie it up on a dolly. It's another thing, you know, be safe. Don't have anything, you know, happen adversely that is going to be a problem. You know, if you have an accident or cause an accident, get a ticket, anything like that, that's not what you want to do. So just a little quick thing about what I do when I'm strapping down and tying down on the trailer. And okay, I'm going to get this thing off of here, and we'll take a look at what we got. Okay, so got it down to the ground. Walk around. Like I said, it is a GL10. It's digital dash display here. You know, trip computer, very fancy tape deck. Hey, huh? Power windows, locks. Does have power sunroof. Upgraded interior. Quite fancy. Very dirty, does need to be cleaned. Whenever you're looking at something like this, dirt is the one thing, for the most part, you know what, pretty much always wipes off. So just kind of keep that in mind, you know, as you're looking at your potential flip. Take a minute here and we'll look underneath. Hey, it's running, you know. Look at that. Beautiful running car. Looking around. Optima battery. Fairly new ignition wires. Like new spark plugs down in there. Got all new tune-up parts. That's very cool. Looking down through here, alternator's not too old. Hey, look at that. Got a new fan. And a new fan clutch. New radiator. Wow, very nice. Got new hoses. You know what I mean? There's been some money spent on this car, trying to rectify its issue. I can tell you, straight up, the car drives very nice down the road. Four-wheel drive works fine. It's all good. Until you do a long, gradual incline that's, you know, pulling up a hill. And she starts to warm up. Huh. To me, it still sounds like very, very poor airflow to the radiator. I just keep coming back to that. But you know, as you look around at these things, you have to listen to what people say. I have a folder with work receipts on this, including from the dealer, where they've spent hundreds of dollars of this gentleman's money trying to fix the car. And they never got anywhere, so he got frustrated. Why did he get frustrated? Because, you know, his issue was not corrected. So he's unhappy with it. He goes out and buys himself a different car. He says, you know what, I just want to get rid of this one. This one here just has really drove me crazy, and I'm just done with it. So along comes me. Look at the car, you know, he wanted a price for it. We haggle back and forth. We settle on a price of $400. So for $400, I have a running, driving, four-wheel drive vehicle that runs quite well. From what I can see, the air conditioning doesn't function. We'll have to be taking a look at that. And, you know, it's dirty. It needs some paint touch-up, some cleanup. Nothing bad. I mean, it's definitely the kind of stuff that, you know, for a Tinker home garage, it's perfect. But now I'm into this car and I've got it home, and as I'm driving home with it on the back of the trailer, I'm looking at it in the rearview mirror and I'm thinking about it, and it's like, you know, it really sounds like poor airflow. That's really odd. I would really suspect that a radiator would have taken care of that. These cars originally came with, you know, a single row radiator that was, you know, adequate for the carbureted and single point fuel injected cars, but when you added the turbo to it, they really were, if anything, not quite enough. So any little thing went awry and you had cooling issues. So, you know, it's with the age that's on these cars now and the radiators and so forth, I mean, I see a lot of radiators that have issues. And, you know, cleaning the radiator out, replacing the radiator on most of them will take care of it. If they've been overheated excessively, you know, sometimes 2-3 times, sometimes it only takes once, you can have some pretty good head gasket issues. You will start blowing head gaskets. And I'm going to be right out there, we may have to put head gaskets in this car. I'm not going to discount that idea for a second, but I don't think so. And it's going to almost surprise me because the car is not using any coolant. Look at the way it runs. I mean, it idles beautifully. You can't get this thing to run any better than that. You know, there's no, I don't know, we'll have to take a look, see what there is for bubbles in the radiator. I don't know what we've got there. We'll have to check that. We've got all new parts, new water pump, and, you know, all the associated hoses and so forth. So, but one thing kind of caught my eye, and the one thing that this car does have is a really nifty setup on it for a tow bar. Like if you want to tow it behind a motorhome or something like that while you're traveling, it's all set up to do that. And one of the things that it has to do that, get down here, is that. And if you look at that for a second, and you think about it, what is that doing? That right there. Well, to me, that's blocking airflow to the radiator. So instead of having the nice big opening down here that these cars have, all you've got is this little bit right here. You've actually decreased the air going in to the front of this car. And what happens when you do that? I mean, if you think about it, I'm from, you know, back east, and we get some pretty cold temperatures back there and whatnot. And a lot of times in the wintertime, your trucks and stuff like that, you have a hard time getting good heat out of them because it's so cold outside. They never really warm up. So one of the things you do is you take cardboard and you block off parts of the radiator to restrict the airflow through the radiator, and it makes them run warmer. And I'm almost suspecting that's exactly what we've got going on here. We've blocked off the entire lower air intake, and it is pretty significantly blocked. I mean, the whole thing is covered right up. So in your normal driving and stuff like that, the air that's flowing through the grill here, you know, through the radiator, is adequate for the load conditions of driving around town, and, you know, nothing really too serious. But when you get out on the highway, higher speeds, higher RPM, you got a higher load on it, pulling that grade, it's just not enough air. I think that's what we've got here. I'm gonna try that anyways. And if that's the case, there's basically nothing wrong with this car. And other than, you know, we had to take that off. And that is something he put on. It was not on the car when he got it. That's something he installed on the car. So, you know, like I say, I've got hundreds of dollars in receipts in there of people looking at this car trying to fix it, and nobody noticed that. They've done everything else with the exception of about the only thing I can see that hasn't been done is head gaskets. And the one thing that, you know, the gentleman did say to me is every time he had something done, it made absolutely no difference in the condition at all. So, you know, I would think that there would be a change somewhere on here, but nothing. So, that's what we got, guys. That's my suspicion. It's a little cool out here today, so I think I'm going to, you know, go inside and enjoy the rest of my Sunday. And we're going to mess around with this week and see what it is. The one thing that we've got here is the gas prices here in the last week have gone up about 20 cents a gallon. The prediction that they have for the coming months is that our gas is going to be $5 to $5.50 per gallon pretty soon. So with that in mind, I may just hang on to this one for a little while. I may just drive it. They're pretty good on gas. It is four-wheel drive. So it may stay around for a little while. But we'll have to get on top of this cooling issue because, like I said, I'm mostly around town driving. It probably wouldn't bother me at all anyways. But it does need to be repaired. It's something that, you know, I can't down the road sell this car to somebody with that issue because I just can't do that. So we'll have to get it fixed. I don't think it's going to be a big deal to do that. I think taking that off and making sure that we get adequate airflow to the radiator itself is going to take care of that. We'll see. And, you know, as we're going along, you know, we'll pick out a few pointers and learn a few things. And even if the end, if we have to put head gaskets in this car, we'll put head gaskets in it. It's not a big deal. And, you know, as you look around at these things and all the hoses and the wires and stuff like that, it's like, oh my God. It's really kind of a daunting thing to look at. Once you see, if we have to get into it, once you see what we have to do, it's really not that big a deal. So, I guess that's about it for now. I'm going to shut this off. And like I say, I'm going to go in. It's getting a little colder today. I don't know if we got some weather coming in or not. And we'll be back at you next time.